प्रबध्ये अहोबिले गारुडशैलमध्ये कृपावशात् कल्पितसंविधानं प्रबध्ये कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमः पन्नगनद्दाय वैकुण्ठवशवर्तिने श्रुतिसिन्धुसुधोत्पाद मन्दराय गरुत्मते श्रीरङ्गेशयतीन्दुना करुणया असोस्यादिति प्रेक्षितम् ख्यातश्रीनरसिंहहारिजमुनीते पादाम्बुजेन्दिन्दिरम् धान्तिक्षान्तिदयादिभिः बान्धं बुधाग्रेसरम् श्रीमद्रङ्गशठारियोगि नृपतिम् श्रेयोनिधिम् संश्रये श्रीमत्श्रीरङ्गपृथ्वीश्वरषटरिपुणा संयमीन्द्रेण दृष्टम् नस्थात्मानं नृसिंहे नरहरिषटजित् योगिनेतु प्रसादात् प्राज्ञं श्रीरङ्गकारि प्रभवयति पतेः प्राप्त लक्ष्मी नृसिंहास्थानं सेवेयतीन्द्रं सकलगुणनिधिं वीररघ्वीक्षठारिं श्रीरङ्गनाथ षडगोपयतीन्द्रदृष्टं लक्ष्मी नृसिंहषडजित्करुणैकपात्रं श्रीरङ्गवीर रघुराज षडगोपकृत्यं वेदान्तदेशिकयतीन्द्रमहं प्रपद्ये श्रीमद्रङ्गशठारि संयमिवराल् लब्धागमान्तद्वयम् श्रीमद्वीररघुत्वहात्यषडजिते पादारविन्दाश्रयम् श्रीमद्वेदवतं सदेशिकयतेः कारुण्यवीक्षास्पदं सेवे रङ्गधुरेण चाचलवसं नारायणं योगिनं वेदान्तदेशिकयतीन्द्रकटाक्षलब्ध त्रय्यन्तसारमनवद्य गुणं बुधाग्र्यं नारायणात्ययतितुर्यकृपाभिषिक्तं श्रीरङ्गनाथयतिशेखरमाश्रयामः। श्रीमते श्रीलक्ष्मीं संहदिव्यपादुका सेवक श्रीवंशरगोप श्रीरङ्गषडगोपेतीन्द्र महादेशिकाय नमः। श्रीमते श्रीवंशरगोप श्री वीरराघव गोपेतीन्द्र महादेशिकाय नमः। श्रीमते श्रीवंशरगोप श्री वेदांत देशिकयतीन्द्र महादेशिकाय नमः। श्रीमते श्री लक्ष्मीं संहदिव्यपादुका सेवक श्रीवंशरगोप श्री नारायणयतीन्द्र महादेशिकाय नमः। श्रीमते श्रीवंशरगोप श्री रंगनाथयतीन्द्र महादेशिकाय नमः। लक्ष्मी नरसिंहन and Raghavan. श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्।
यज्ञमयजन्त देवाः तानि धर्माणि प्रथमान्यासन् हनागं मयमानस्य जन्दे यत्तपोर्वे साध्यासन्नि देवाः अद्य सम्भूत पृथिव्यैर साक्ष विश्वकर्मणः समवर्धदाति तस्य त्वष्टा विदधद्रूपमेति तत्पुरुषस्य विश्वमाजानमग्रे वेदामेदं पुरुषं महान्तम् आदित्यवन्नन्तमसत्परस्तात् तमेवं विद्वानमुदये भवति नान्यपन्था विद्यते यणाय प्रजापतिश्चरति गर्भे अन्तः अजायमानो भवता विजायते तस्य धीरा परिजानन्ति योनिम् श्रीचीनामदमिजन्ति वेदसः यो देवेभ्यः आदपति यो देवानां वलोयः पूर्वो यो देवेभ्यो जातः नमो ऋषाय ब्राह्मये ऋषं ब्राह्मं जनयन्तः देवाग्रे तदब्रुवन् तद्वैवं ब्राह्मणो विद्वान् विद्यात् तस्य देवा सन्नुषे हेष्यते लक्ष्मी जपज्ञो अहोरात्रे पार्श्वे नक्षत्राणि रूपम् अश्विनो व्यात्तम् इष्टं मनिषाणा मम मनिषाणा सर्वं मनिषाणा ओम नारायणाय विद्महे वासुदेवाय धीमहि तन्नो विष्णु प्रचोदयात् ओम नारायणाय विद्महे वासुदेवाय धीमहि तन्नो विष्णु प्रचोदयात् हिरण्यवर्णा मणिनील सुवर्णरजतश्चां चन्द्रां हिरण्मयीं लक्ष्मीं जातवेदो महावः तामावहजातवेदो लक्ष्मीमनवगामिनीं यस्यां हिरण्यं विन्देयङ्गामश्वं पुरुषाणहम् अश्वोर्मामृतमद्यामद्दिनादप्रबोधिनीं श्रियं देवीमुपह्वये श्रीमादेवी जुषतां कां सोऽस्मितां हिरण्यप्राकारामाद्वाञ्जलन्दीं रक्तां दर्पयन्तीं अन्येजितां भगवन्नां त्वामिहोपह्वये श्रियम् ओम महादेवे च विद्महे विष्णुपत्न्यै च धीमहि तन्नो लक्ष्मी प्रचोदयात् ओम महादेवे च विद्महे विष्णुपत्न्यै च धीमहि तन्नो लक्ष्मी प्रचोदयात् हरिः ओम।
हरिः ओम्. Thank you very much, Lakshmi Narasimhan and Raghavan. So that was very nice chanting of 2 bhagams of Vedam. Can anybody tell me what those 2 were?
It was a Purusha Suktam, part of Purusha Suktam from Adya Sambhuta, and then the other one was Sri Suktam, Hiranyavarnam Harini.
Hiranyavarnam Harini. Sriman, did you recognize it? I guess Raghav is also aware of it, right? Raghav must be knowing it too. And we have Saumi and Vedant also, so they must have been knowing it too. So why are we chanting Vedam at the beginning of this session? So what does Vedam and what was the content of Purusha Suktam that they were particularly starting? They could have started with Sahasra Sirisha Purushaha, right? That is the starting of Purusha Suktam. But why did they start with Yagyena Yagyamaya Janta Devaha? What is it about Perumal from Purusha Suktam and Yagyam and Tayar that is also related to Yagyam through Sri Suktam? What is the connection there? So there is something to do about Perumal that came from a Yagyam, and that is direct incarnation of Mahavishnu.
Ativaradar?
Whoa, wonderful. So can you, the answer is right, but can you explain the mechanics behind that connection?
So what happened was like the story was about like Brahma he became too arrogant. So Perumal gave him a curse that he won't be able to see him in his he won't be able to see in a visual form.
Okay. No, don't tell the whole story. Don't tell the whole story. Just do high level because.
Yeah, and then so she did like Ashwamedha Yagam and.
So even for the liquiding, I mean, watering it down, he came from the Yajna, right? Performed by Brahma, right? Right, Aparajitan? Can you tell me what is the name of the Yajna?
Ashwamedha Yagam.
Ashwamedha Yajna. How do you know? How do we know that? Because the very first slokam of Varadaraja Panchashat, Swami Deshikan says Turaga Savana Vedyam Shamalo Habhyavaha, right? Turaga means horse, Savana means Medam, Yajna. So Ashwamedha Yajna is from where? From the Uttarvedi of Ashwamedha Yajna is from where Lord Varadaraja emerged. And that's the reason why Varadan has a lot of spots in his face. The Utsava Murti of Varadarajan has a lot of spots in his face because he emerged from the Yajna Jwala of the Ashwamedha Yajna performed by Brahma. Okay, so there is also another thing that says that it is one of the 7 places, Mukti Tarum Nagare. Okay, we are all go into all of those details by Vasumati and Prakriti here. So today's session is going to be narrated by Vasumati, Prakriti, and Rangan in that order. And Vasumati has done a great job in putting her presentations together, and so has Prakriti. So the way we will go through the material is that first we will have Sthala Puranam and the details about the temple and Perumal and the shrines and the sannadhis inside of the temple and the specialities of how those came into existence and all of that. And then Prakriti will go into Alvar Acharya Mangala Shastrams, and the same thing will be followed up with Rangan's further intricate details of how Acharyas and their Pasharams and the Anubhavams are related to Lord Varadaraja. Varadaraja is one of the all the Vedasams are fantastic, no doubt about it, but Varadaraja is even furthermore because Shoranade, Shorudaite, Tondai Nade, and the place where Varadaraja comes from is Sandro Rudaite, right? Meaning that place where Varadaraja is present is known for scholars. Each segment of our local zones back in India, each Nade, right? Shora Nade, Chera Nade, Pandya Nade, and also Nadu Nade and Tondai Nade. There are different segments. If you have attended the SAM SV class, we went into great detail of which are all the Divyadesams that have been segregated into these zones and what are their specialities. And our 45th IDS singer very, very brilliantly used to say, Tondai Nadu, which is where Kanchipuram falls under, is famous for the people, the learned scholars. That Kanchi Varadaraja always, he brought up a lot of scholars from his areas, and Lord Ranganatha would eventually finally take them away to Sri Ranga. Is how is a funny correlation or an analogy that used to be mentioned. So Kanchipuram area is generally very, very, very famous for knowledgeable scholars. So the last two segments will be dedicated to the scholars of our Sampradayam and how they have actually had, enjoyed Perumal through their Pasharams, Slokams, and other life events. So without taking too much away from the kids, let me hand it over to Vasumati, who's going to be starting with the Sthala Puranam and the Kshetra Mahatmyam and whatnot. So over to you, Vasumati. I will. Oh, nice to see Sriman on video. Happy haircut. Let me hand it over to Vasumati right now.
Thank you, Mama.
Give me 1 second while I get the sharing going. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay, go ahead.
Hello everyone, my name is Vasumati Raghavan and today we will be going on an adventure to one of the most important kshetrams in all of the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. In Sanskritam, it is known as Hastigiri, in Tamil, Attigiri, but it is also known as Tirukachchi. To prove Tirukachchi's unparalleled greatness, I will recite the first pasuram of Swami Desikan's Adaikalapad. பத்தி முதலாம் அவற்றில் பதி எனக்கு கூடாமல் எத்திசையும் உழன்றோடி இளைத்து விழும் காகம் போல் முத்தி தரு நகரேழில் முக்கியமாம் கட்சி தன்னில் அத்திகிரியருளாளர்க்கு அடைக்கலம் நான் புகுந்தேனே. Now the last two lines are extremely important. They speak of the 7 mukti or moksham giving places. The 7 being Ayodhya, Maya, Mathura, Kasi, Kanchi, Dwaraka and Avantika. This pasuram says that Kanchi is the most important out of them all. Like a crow that flew in all directions and at last fell at his feet, I surrendered to Lord Varadaraja, who presides over Attigiri in the town of Kanchipuram, among the 7 towns that lead to salvation. This is the beautiful Tamil to English translation of this stunning pasuram. Next slide. Pushpeshu Jati, Purusheshu Vishnu, Narishu Ramba, Nagareshu Kanchi. This is a clear definition of the greatness of Kanchipuram, translating to, if it is a flower, it is Jati, if it is a man, it is Vishnu, if it is a woman, it is Ramba, if it is a city, it is Kanchi. Kanchipuram used to be a world-renowned place full of learned individuals, scholars, and people who thirst for knowledge. Many individuals from all over the world came to Kanchipuram to learn about a plethora of things. Now, how did Kanchi come to become such a powerful place? It is because of the presence of Varadaraja Perumal. As a matter of fact, in our Sampradayam of the 3 Rahasya Mandirams, Kanchi Varada Kshetram actually represents the Charma Shloka. So really, how did this Sthalam come into existence? The Sthala Puranam of Tirukachchi is really quite interesting. It all started because once, long ago, Brahma did penance to Perumal to gain his darshan. As a result, Perumal gave Brahma darshan in the form of Pushkaram, which is Tirtham, and Nemisaranyam, which is forest. But still, Brahma was unsatisfied. He was longing for the Archa Rupam, or the idol form of Perumal. As he sat thinking, he heard an asariri from the heavens that told him to perform 1,000 Ashwamedha Yagams in order to fulfill his desire. But Brahma knew that even performing 1 Ashwamedha Yagam would be difficult, and doing 1,000 would be near impossible. So seeing his dilemma, the asariri told him to go to Satyavrata Kshetram and perform the Ashwamedha Yagam once, because anything good done once in Kanchi is worth 1,000 elsewhere. Brahma ordered Vishwakarma to create a place for him to perform the Yagam, and Vishwakarma created a beautiful city that is gloriously described by Swami Desikan in Naivrita Manvayam. From the fire of Brahma's Yagam, Sri Devadirajan appeared with his consorts Sri Devi and Bhudevi in Punyakoti Vimana, which is still the Vimanam of the Kshetra. There, he finally gave Brahma the darshan he desired. Does anyone know the meaning of Kanchi? No? Okay. So, Ka means Brahma and Anjitam means who is worshipped. It is called thus because Brahma worshipped Perumal in the Kshetra. In Tamil, Kanchi became Kachi or Tirkachi. So now you know. So are there any other names for Tirkachi that you know of?
Kanchipuram.
Okay. Any others? Okay. So it is known as Satyavrata Kshetram, which means it is true that whatever Punya Karma is done, the benefit is granted immediately. Other names include Perumal Kovil, Kankudukum Kovil, which we will discuss later, and Attigiri or Hastigiri. The name Hastigiri was given to the Kshetram because Hasti means elephant and Giri means hill. The Ashtadigajas, the 8 elephants that are in charge of the 8 directions, worship the Perumal. Gajendra also worshipped Perumal. Since elephants glorified the Perumal here, it is called Atti or Hastigiri. In our Sampradayam, we refer to Kovil, Malai, and Perumal Kovil, where Kovil represents Srirangam's architecture, Malai refers to Tirupati, and Perumal Kovil alludes to the significance to Perumal. Perumal Kovil directly represents only Kanchipuram. Now, a brief overview of the facts. The Moolavar of Tirkachi is Varadaraja Perumal facing west in standing posture. This position is called Nindu Tirukolam in Tamil. The Utsavar is Devadirajan, Tayar is Perundevitaya. Vimanam, as mentioned previously, is Punyakoti Vimanam, and the Pushkarani is Anantasaras. The exact time of which Devadiraja Perumal appeared from Brahma's Yagam is Chitre Madam, Sukla Paksham, Chaturthitidi, Hasta Nakshatram in the morning. The Tejas of Perumal in this moment is described as the light of a lamp placed in daylight. The lamp is overwhelmed in the brilliance of the day, and likewise, Perumal's Tejas has overwhelmed the brilliance of the sun itself. Ativardhar is one of the forms of Varadarajan that Brahma worshipped. In Satya Yuga, Vishwakarma carved him out of a fig tree. Ati means fig. Perumal was worshipped here by Brahma in Treta Yuga, Gajendra in Treta Yuga, Brihaspati in Dwapara Yuga, and Adiseshan in Kali Yuga. He was worshipped in Tirkachi until the early 16th century. Then, due to the foreign invasions, Ativardhar's idol was submerged in the Pushkarani to safeguard it. For 40 long years, there was no worship at the Kovil. Eventually, unable to locate Ativardhar, temple authorities created a very similar looking version of him. They called him Varadarajan. Some people believe that this Vigraham was brought from Parayasivaram, a nearby hillock. Around 1709, the Pushkarani in which Ativardhar was located was emptied, and he was seen at the base of the dam. Authorities decided to take out the Vigraham once every 40 years for 48 days each to perform Aradhana. It is believed that inside the Anantasaras Pushkarani, Brahma is performing the Aradhanam even now. Okay. Now let us examine the glories and Kalyana Gunagas of Varadaraja Perumal at the Kshetra. Varadaraja Perumal is known as Perurgalan. Even a mere thought about something will be granted to us immediately by him. The name Varadarajan comes from the root words Varadan and Rajan. Varadan means giver of boons, and Rajan means king. That makes Varadarajan the king of the giver of boons. Another name of Varadaraja Perumal is Kankudukum Perumal. Perumal got this name because he once gave eyesight to a blind man named Haritavarna, who was also the grandfather of Tirkachi Nambi. As I mentioned before, Gajendra Moksham occurred at the Kshetra. Anantasaras is the name of the Pushkarani in which Ativardhar was submerged. It was actually formed when Adiseshan came to worship Perumal. He broke open the ground, and that place has now become the pond. The Pancharatra Agama Shastra. This is the place where Varadaraja Perumal gave his Aradhana rules and regulations. We spoke about Varadaraja Perumal's greatness, and it is only right to follow up with Perudevi Daya's potency. Yogarambha Varita Manaso Yushmade Kantya Yuktam Dharmam Praptum Pratama Mihaye Darayante Danayam Desham Bhumer Danapati Griha Dambara Dambuderva Dara Niryan Tyadikam Adhikam Vanchitanam Vasunam. This shlokam, the 16th sloka of Sri Stuti, displays the magnificence of Perudevi Daya. It describes the climax of a very important story. Once, a poor brahmachari came to Swami Desikan for help. Because of his poverty, he was unable to get married. In order to help the brahmachari, Swami Desikan brought him to the Sannadhi of Perudevi Daya and composed Sri Stuti. During the recitation of this sloka, gold coins rained in front of Swami Desikan. Swami promptly gave the brahmachari all the gold without a second thought. Because of Swami Desikan, the brahmachari now had enough money to get married. Such is the benevolence of Swami Perudevi Daya. Not only did she help a poor brahmachari, but she wanted to honor the belief and the trust that the great Bhagavata Swami Desikan had in her. Moving along, let's talk about some temple facts. Tirukachi has two large gopurams. The eastern one was built by Krishna Devaraya and the western gopuram by the Pallavas. Numerous kings helped renovate this Divyadesa. It was expanded during the reign of Kulotanga Chola I and Vikrama Chola. There are three prakarams: Alvar Prakaram, Madapalli Prakaram, and Tirumalai Prakaram. Tirukachi has 19 Vimanams, 389 pillared halls, and 32 important sannadhis. Some of these sannadhis include Yoganarasimhar and Chakratalvar are actually in the first sannadhi that you will see right after the Ananta Saras Pushkarani. Soon after that, you will see the Garuda Sannadhi, Kuge Narasimha Sannadhi, Perudevi Tayar Sannadhi, Ranganatha Sannadhi, Krishna Sannadhi, and many, many others. Prakriti will go a little more in depth on the subject during her portion of the presentation. We all know that with so many halls and sannadhis, there are innumerable stories that fill the Kshetram. But I want to specifically talk about an incident regarding Kanchipuram Mandapam and Swami Desikan. One day, Swami Desikan's maternal uncle, Appular, went to attend the Sri Bhashya Kalakshepam of Nadagarama at Kanchipuram Mandapam in Tirukachi. Swami Desikan, who was only 5 at the time, wanted to join him, so Appular brought him along. Once there, Nadagarama was so amazed at the utter brilliance of the sight of Swami Desikan that he paused the Kalakshepam. When he tried to resume, he found himself lost. He couldn't remember where he'd left off. Swami Desikan reminded him. An overwhelmed and joyful Nadagarama blessed Swami by saying, Pratishtapita Vedanta Pratikshipta Bahirmatha Bhuya Traividya Manyastvam Bhuri Kalyana Pachanam. There are many utsavams that occur at Tirukachi. Brahmotsavam, Avatar Utsavam, Tota Utsavam are some of the more important ones, as well as the Ekanta Seva. But the most famous Utsavam by far is the Garuda Seva, which is held during Vaikasi Masam. The Garuda Seva here is very unique because of its backstory. In a nearby Kshetram called Tirukadagai, there lived a Brahmin who used to come to Garuda Seva every year to get Perumal's darshan. One year, the Brahmin, due to old age, couldn't come. Because of this, he was unable to get the darshan of Perumal. He was very upset and kept Perumal in his mind constantly. As soon as Perumal came out of the temple, he flew away on Garuda to Tirukadagai to see this one specific Brahmana. There, Perumal gave the man his darshan and he came back. Even now, when Perumal first gets out of the koval, there's a slight millisecond where you cannot move him at all. We've already talked about the greatness of Varadaraja Perumal, Perudevi Tayar, and the greatness of Kanchipuram itself. It's important to not forget that there are many great scholars and Mahans who are originally from Kanchi or performed many great feats here. For example, Poigai Alvar was born in Tiruvika. Sri Ramanujar was born in Sri Perumbudur. Kurutalvan was born in Kuram. Swami Desikan was born in Tupul, which is only about 5 kilometers away from Athivi. Many current day acharyas are also born near Kanchipuram. This is also the Kshetram in which Perumal spoke to Tirukachi Nambigal every night. Here are the Divya Desams that are in Kanchi: Tirukachi, Ashtabhujam, Thupul, Tiruniragam, to name a few. Thank you all very much for taking the time to listen to my portion of our presentation today. I highly appreciate it. And now I will pass you on to Prakriti.
Thank you very much, Srimati Raghavan. It was fantastic, particularly when you touched up upon the great scholars from the area, and also about the Sthala Puranam of how from the Ashwamedh Yajnam and Brahma's performance of it, and how Perumal emerged from it, and all of that. It was very nice graphics combined along with a lot of details. It was very enjoyable. So I'm going to save the last slide where you have the questions towards the end of the session. Depending on how much time we are left with, we can go over questions. I'm sure we'll revisit it back. So I'll stop sharing briefly, and I'll pull up Prakriti's presentation and I'll hand it over to her in a bit. Give me 1 second.
Thank you, Mama.
Okay, bear with me for the few second delay there was for while pulling up the presentation. But over to Prakriti to talk about Alvar Mangala Shasanams for Kanchipuram. Prakriti, over to you, ma.
Again, thank you, Mama. Varada virachayatvam varita seshadosham punarupachita punyam bhushitam punyakotya sitamudita manobhistavakai nitya sevyam hatari pujana yogam hastidhamna samriddhim. Hello everyone, my name is Prakriti, and now I will guide you through the next part of this presentation, which is about Alvar Mangala Shasanam for Kanchipuram. Next slide, please, Mama. So, as you all know, Kanchipuram is a city in Tamil Nadu in South India, and it's the holy site of 14 Divya Desams consecrated by the Alvars. 4 Alvars, namely Bhutat Alvar, Pe Alvar, Tirumangai Alvar, and Nam Alvar, have performed Mangala Shasanam for this glorious city. 7 pasurams written by these Alvars are devoted to the Lord of Attigiri, who is Varadaraja Perumal. Let's start with Bhutat Alvar. Bhutat Alvar was born in 4203 BC in Tirukadal Mallai, modern-day Mahabalipuram, in the month of Aipasi, under the Sadai Avittam Nakshatram. He is an amsam of the mace, Kaumodaki, one of the Pancha Ayudams of 5 weapons of Perumal. Bhutat Alvar is one of the Mudal Alvars, alongside Poigai Alvar and Pe Alvar. He was found in a flower in Tirukadal Mallai. He had instinctive knowledge about Yemperuman, hence his name Bhutam. His most famous work is the Irandam Tiruvandadi, set in the Andadi style. In the Andadi style, the syllable that finishes one pasuram starts the next pasuram, making the Divya Prabandham like a chain of verses, like a garland. One day, on a cold and rainy night, the three Mudal Alvars took shelter from the lashing rain in a small and dark enclosure in Tirukovilur. Then, as they were huddled tightly together in the dark, they felt another person among them whom they couldn't see. But in a flash of lightning, they realized that the fourth person among them was none other than Perumal himself. The Mudal Alvars wished for light to come so that they could continuously see Perumal. And so they each composed and recited 100 verses to fulfill their wish. Poigai Alvar went first, reciting Mudal Tiruvandadi. Bhutatalvar came next, reciting Irandam Tiruvandadi. And Peyalvar followed, reciting Moondram Tiruvandadi. In Irandam Tiruvandadi, Bhutatalvar describes Sriman Narayana as Para, Vyuha, Vibhava, Archa, and Antaryaman. Two of the pasarams in this Divya Prabandham are for Attigiri in Kanchipuram. Let us see those pasarams now. This is pasaram 95 of Irandam Tiruvandadi. Yennenjameyan, yensenniyan, Danavanai vannenjam kindamani vannan, Munnam seyuriyan uripeyartan, Ulagetum ariyan attiyuran. In this pasaram, Bhutatalvar describes Perumal using many adjectives, describing him as the one who killed the demon Iranian, the one who shines like a beautiful blue gemstone, and the one who is responsible for both creation and destruction. Perumal is also described as the one who is worshipped by the world and the one who reclines in Tiruparkadal. Here, Bhutatalvar refers to Perumal using the name Attiyuran, which means resident of Attigiri. Next slide, please, Mama. This is Pasaram 96 of Irandam Tiruvandadi. Attiyuran Pullayurvan Animaniyin Tuttisir Nagattin Mel Tuyilvan Muttimarayavan Nakadal Nanjundan Tanakkum Irayavan Yengal Piran. Here also, Bhutatalvar refers to Perumal using Attiyuran, resident of Attigiri. Here, he describes Perumal as the one who rides Garuda, the one who sleeps on the bed formed by Adisesha, the embodiment of all the Vedas, and the one worshipped by the powerful Lord Shiva. This pasaram also contains a reference to the Garuda Sevai that happens in Kanchipuram every Vaikasi month. Now, let us see Peyalvar. Peyalvar was born in the same year and month as Bhutatalvar in Manikaivaram, modern-day Mylapore, under the Sadayam Nakshatram. He is an Amsam of Perumal's divine sword, or Nandakam. Peyalvar was found in a lily flower in a pond in Adikeshava Perumal temple in Manikaivaram. The three Mudal Alvars, including him, Bhutatalvar and Poigayalvar, were Ayonijas. This means that they had miraculous or divine origins. Peyalvar's devotion to Perumal was so intense that he was named Pey. Next slide, please, Mama. Peyalvar's most famous work is Moondram Tiruvandadi, which is also set in the Andadi style. This Divya Prabandham starts with the words Tirukandeen Ponmeni Kandeen. I have found the glorious golden form of the Lord. This Divya Prabandham talks about Narayana and refers to him as the supreme deity. And this Divya Prabandham also refers to Trivikrama and Krishna. Attigiri is one of the 14 Divya Desams this Alvar has consecrated in his Pasurams. This is Pasuram 26 of Moonram Tiruvandadi. Siranda Vensindayum Senganarabum Niranda Sir Neel Kachiyullum Uraindudubum Venkatamum Bekkavum Velukkai Padiyume Tam Kadavar Tanturayar. In this manner, Yemperuman, who is the Lord of the gods and all the celestials, and who wears the refreshing Tulasi garland, resides forever in my heart, on the serpent bed in Tiruparkadal, and in the prosperous Kanchi, Tiruvekka, Tiruvenkatam, and Velukkai. Now, let us look at Nammalvar. Nammalvar was born in 798 CE at Tirukurugur, modern-day Alvar Tirunagari, in the month of Vaikasi under the Vishakha Nakshatram. He is an amsam of Vishwaksena, also called Senai Mudaliyan, who is Perumal's army commander. Madura Kavi Alvar is his primary shishya. His original name, given by his parents, was Maran. From when he was born, Maran did not move, cry, speak, or even open his eyes. Maran went to a tamarind tree, which was Adisesha's incarnation, and sat under it in silent meditation for 16 years, writing a total of 1,296 pasurams in praise of Perumal. Nammalvar is also called Shatagopan, Karimaran, Parangusan, Vakulabharanam, and Kurugur Nambi. Swami Deshikan has provided commentary on Nammalvar's Mangalashasanam to Kanchipuram. Swami Deshikan has said that Nammalvar performed Mangalashasanam to Varadaraja Perumal of Attigiri. Nammalvar has described Attiyuran as Shri Varadar, which means the one who bestows boons. Nammalvar also defined the Tiru Kalyana Gunangal of Varadaraja Perumal as Param or Paratvam. He is the Supreme Lord with a divine origin. This is also a reference to the Para form of Perumal. Svarchva Gunam. He is naturally honest and virtuous. Sulabham. It is easy to worship and attain him. Swaratyam. He is bhavya or simple. Aparadha prasanam. He bears or forgives the faults of his bhaktas. Nirvaishamyam. He looks upon everyone equally. Sushilam. He mingles freely and blesses all. Anaga Vishrana Nabaram. He is extremely generous to all. Susatmaya Swananda Pradam. He gives a person what he deserves for his prayers. And finally, Sarasa Bhajanam. He is of such a nature that doing Aradhana to him itself is a blessing. Now, let us see Tirumangai Alvar. Tirumangai Alvar was one of the last two Alvars. He has written 1,253 pasurams on Perumal, and that makes him the second most prolific Alvar. Tirumangai Alvar is also called Parakalan, Tirumangai Mannan, Kaliyan, and Nalakavi. He was born in the 8th century at Tirukurayalur, modern-day Tirunagari, in the month of Kartigai, under the Kritika Nakshatram. He is an amsam of Karmukham, Perumal's divine bow. His original name was Neelan, and he was born into a Kshatriya family. He grew up skilled in warfare, becoming the favorite of the Chola emperor. The emperor made him the king of a small province called Tirumangai. This is where he gets his name Tirumangai Mannan, or King of Tirumangai. Many circumstances in his eventful life led to him becoming a Vishnu Bhakta. Next slide, please, Mama. Tirumangai Mannan's wife, Kumudavalli, led him to the path of bhakti, and he began praying to Perumal and feeding 1,000 bhaktas every day. However, Tirumangai Mannan soon came under debt to the Chola emperor because he could not pay his taxes. For a short time, he even became a thief in order to obtain the money. But the Chola king captured him. In captivity, he prayed to Perumal, who came in his dream and told him to come to Kanchi to find the wealth. Tirumangai Mannan found the wealth in the Attigiri temple. Varadaraja Perumal and Perundevi Tayar gave him darshan there and instructed him to visit and praise all the Divya Deshams. A new life began for Tirumangai Mannan, and he took a pilgrimage to 106 Divya Deshams and became Tirumangai Alvar. Next slide, please, Mama. Swami Deshikan has provided commentary on Tirumangai Alvar's Mangalashasanam as well. He has said that Tirumangai Alvar also performed Mangalashasanam to Varadaraja Perumal. He does so in one of his pasarams, saying, "The Almighty in the beautiful Kanchipuram is the one who grants the wishes of all his devotees in all the yugas. He is Sri Varadan, the one who gives varam or boons to everybody. He is the one who resides in glorious Attigiri." Once again, a reference to Attiyuran. He is the great Perarulalan. The Lord took the Ramavataram to destroy evil. So this Perarulalan, along with the mother goddess Tayar, is firmly installed in my heart. I worship him at his lotus feet. This is it for Alvar Mangalashasanam. I will now hand it over to Rangan, who will continue on the discussion of Kanchipuram. Dhanyasmi.
That was one spotless, blemishless, fantastic performance, Prakriti. It was not just very informative, but the graphics, along with your very, very fluent, sweet, and detailed, and spashta pronunciation of all the words, as well as the details in there, was very, very captivating. And I'm sure 100% of all the information you provided was completely easily observable. So thank you so much for that. Once again, I will just stop sharing for a brief period of time. I'll go back and pull up Rangan's presentation and hand it over to him. And I'll save your questions towards the end of the presentations to see, based on how much time we have left, we can revisit it back. Okay, once again, thank you so much, Prakriti. Bear with me for a few seconds. I'll pull up Rangan's presentation. I'm going to stop sharing.
Swami.
Adiya.
இந்த பிரசன்டேஷன் நாங்க இங்க ஓபன் பண்ணி வச்சிருக்கேன், கொஞ்சம் சேஞ்ச் பண்ணதுனால நான் இங்க இருந்து பண்ணலாமா? பரவாயில்லையா?
தேவருக்கு ஷேர் பண்ண ரைட்ஸ் வருமா?
பண்ணலாமே.
Only one person at a time, sure.
Okay, do you want to go ahead and share that?
நான் ஷேர் பண்றேன். சரியா?
But I think you might have to go on to presentation mode. Yes, okay.
Acharya's Mangalashasanam to Kanchipuram. I have something to say before we start. Adiyan is very fortunate to speak about this topic, since Kanchi Kshetram is what gave us our famous Acharyas of Sampradaya like Sri Ramanuja, Swami Deshikan, and Kuratarman. Let us all enjoy our Acharya's outpourings with this PowerPoint. Swami Alabandar. Introduction. Swami Alabandar is amongst the most important Acharyas of the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. Swami Alabandar was born in the year 916 and was the grandson of the great Acharya Nadamuni. Visit to Kanchipuram. Swami Alavandar was seeking a suitable person to take over spiritual leadership of the Sri Vaishnava community. Swami Alavandar learned about Sri Ramanuja, who was studying under the Yadava Prakashar in Kanchipuram at the time. Swami Alavandar visited Kanchipuram in order to meet Sri Ramanuja. Identified Sri Ramanuja. At Deva Perumal temple in front of Kariyamanikya Perumal Sannidhi, Tirukachinambi identified Sri Ramanuja to Swami Alavandar, who at the very first glance could see the tejas in Sri Ramanuja and knew that he was the one to take over spiritual leadership of the Sri Vaishnava community. Sharanagati to Yemperaman. He instantly seeks Sharanagati to Yemperaman to bless Sri Ramanuja with his Kataksham to be the next leader of the Sampradayam. Sharanagati Slokam. Yasya Prasada Kalya Bhatirashanoti Pankuhu Pradavati Chavane Chavakti Muka Anta Prabhasya Satam Lavatev Chavandya Amdeva Devaneva Sharanam Katosmi. Swami Alavandar. Sharanagati acceptance by Deva Perumal. Deva Perumal, true to his promise, accepted Alavandar Sharanagati and paved way for Sri Ramanuja Yatiraja to become Emperamanar. Announcement of Swami Ramanuja as successor. Alavandar pronounced Swami Ramanuja as his successor. He ordered that all of his disciples should give due respect to him, and the act of surrendering to him was the only way to salvation. Sri Ramanuja. Introduction. Sri Ramanuja, the propounder of the Sri Vaishnava philosophy, was born in Sri Parambudur in the year 1017. He moved to Kanchipuram and started studying under the renowned scholar Sri Yadava Prakashar, Sri Ramanuja, and Lord Vardarajan. Lord Vardarajan, with Perandevi Tayar, disguised as hunters, appeared in front of Sri Ramanuja and guided him through the forest. They asked him to fetch water for their thirst. While Sri Ramanuja started walking to find the water, he felt tired and decided to take rest. And when he woke up, he found himself to be in the outskirts of Kanchi. Sri Ramanuja did Tirtha Kankaryam, service of bringing holy water for Vardhan's Tirumancharam. Anashtana Kula Utsavam. The well from which Sri Ramanuja went to fetch water was the Salai Kinar nearby Kanchipuram, and hence the Anushtana Kulotsavam is celebrated. Aravartai. Lord Vardarajan proclaimed the famous 6 messages Aravartai through Tirukachinambi to clear doubts of Ramanuja. I am Paratotva. I am distinct from Jivatma. Prapati is the route to moksha. Antima Shrimati is not essential. I shall grant moksha to my devotees. Seek guidance from the esteemed Mahapurna. Yatiraja. Ramanuja took Sanyasashanam in Kanchi, and Varta greeted him through the priest with the title Yatiraja. Swami Kulatarvan. Kulatarvan, the ardent Shishya of Ramanuja, had lost his eyesight due to the cruelty of the Shola king. Ramanuja was deeply hurt and asked him to come to Kanchi to pray to the boon granter Varda to have his eyes restored. Respecting his Acharya's command, Swami Kulatarvan composed a moving stotram on Lord Varda known as the Vardarajastavam. In the 23rd sloka, he says, Netra Satkuru Karisha Sarami. He asked for eyes of knowledge and not physical eyes, and thus requested the sight to see the Lord and his Acharya. Swami Desikan. Introduction. Swami Desikan was born in 1268 AD at Tupal near Kanchipuram and was as the son of one Suri, Sri Anantasuri and Totaramba. They named him Venkatanatha. He is believed to be the incarnation of the bell of from the Lord of Tirumalai. Even while young, he used to attend the discourses of Nadadarammal along with his maternal uncle Appular. Nadadarammal blessed Swami Deskan by saying, எனக்கு இந்த ஸ்லோகம்
One second.
சுவாமி தேசிகன் அடைக்கலப்பத்து பத்தி முதலாமவற்றில் பதி எனக்கு கூடாமல் எத்திசையமுடன்றோடி இளைத்து விரங்காகம் போல் முத்தித்தனகழேழல் முக்கியமாம் கட்சி தன்னில் அத்திகிரி ஆளாருக்கு அடைக்கலம் நான் புகின்றேனே. அடைக்கலப்பத்து. Adikalam means absolute surrender. This wonderful work of Swami Deskan is a Tamil prabandham on surrender similar to Nyasadasakam. Swami Deskan's Aradhana Murti was Vartharajan. He has offered his profound salutations to Lord Varda through his slotrams such as Sri Vartharaja Panchashat, Mevitamanmayam and Tiruchinnamalai, and Sri Hastigiri Mahanman. So Varadaraja Panchashat. This stotra Varadaraja Panchashtam, as the name suggests, contains 50 slokas plus one Palastuti sung in the praise of Lord Varadaraja. The essential doctrine of Vishashtadvaita is crisply given. In addition, the 5 forms of the Lord are described. Swami Deskan, his words. Nyasadasakam. श्रीमन्नभीष्टवरदत्वामस्मि शरणं गतः एतद्देवाः साने मां तत्पादं प्रापय स्वयम्. In this stotram, Nyasadasakam, Swami Deskan has distilled the essence of the principles of Nyasam and the method of performance. Here Swami says, Lord Varda, because of your nature to grant all the boons that your devotees ask for, I have now performed a Bharanyasam at your sacred feet. Please grant me the boon of reaching Sri Vaikuntham at the end of my stay on this earth and perform Nitya Kaikaryam there for you. Vega Setu Stotra. Ekam Vegavati Madhe Hasti Shaile Charishare Upaya Phalavavena Sarvyaktam Paramaha. Vega Setu Stotra is the stotra where Swami Deskan brings out the important concept of in our Sampradayam, that the Lord is both the means and the goal. Mevitamanmayam. This Desika Prabandham is 29 pasurams. In this one pasuram, the quintessence of Sri Bhashyam is housed. Mevitamanmayam focuses on the avataram of Lord Varadarajan in response to the Ashwamedha Yagam performed by Lord Brahma at the Satyavita Kshetram. The Lord Varadaraja appeared to the Uttara Veedi of Brahma's Yaga Salai under the Punyakoti Vimanam as the effulgent radiance. When Brahma completed the Vapa Homam, the Lord arose from the middle of the Yaga Kuntam, shining like thousands of suns. Brahma asked for the Lord to stay permanently in the Satyavakta Kshetram to bless Bhaktas for all times to come. Aishingars and Kanchi, the third year of Sri Ahobila Madam, Sri Parankushaitendra Mahadeskan spent his days in teaching Sri Bhashyam and Srimad Rahashitasaram to numerous disciples at Kanchipuram. The 15th Ayagi Ashingar was born in Esinanur, Argraharam near Kanchipuram, as a great Bhakta of Lord Varadaraja. Varadaraja at Kanchipuram. He stayed in Kanchipuram a few years and was giving his Kalakshepam. Several Aishingars have performed Mangala Sashanam to Varadaraja, continuing the tradition of Srimadam. Adiyan Ramanuja Dasan.
Thank you very much, Rangan. It was very nice, very detailed and excellent presentation with a lot of details about the Acharyas.
என்னோட pronunciation எனக்கு அவ்வளோ எனக்கு
No, that's right. No, it was very nice. No, nothing to worry about. You had it done very well. Thank you so much. And since we have a little bit of time left, I want to go back to Vasumati and Prakriti's presentation so we can have the questions answered. Okay, so bear with me for a second again. If we can stop sharing, I can take over and pull up their presentation so we can project the questions. Okay. Real quick. Okay. So, over to you, Vasumati. Can you?
Okay, well, thank you. Okay, so when was the last time Ahobila was worshipped on earth? And the next. So a little bit of math here. You can just call out. Yeah, Raman.
Last time was 2019, and the next time will probably be in 2059.
Okay, good job.
Very
Could you
nice.
hit the next arrow, please? And then, what is the name of the Vimanam and the Pushkarini at Tirupati?
Punyakoti Vimanam and Anantasaras Pushkarini.
Wow.
Good job. Okay, great.
Very nice.
Okay. This question wasn't in my slides, and I just want to know who knows the answer. So, who saw Swami Ramanuja for the first time in the Kshetra?
Varadar himself, because he was the one who brought.
No, I think the question relates to an Acharya Nama.
Is it Tirukachidambi?
No, Acharya. Like Tirukachidambi was actually talking to Ramanujan. I think where her question goes is Sampradaya Acharya.
Yes, Alavandar.
Probably a GR.
I don't know who said it, but someone got it. It was Alavandar.
I said Alavandar.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
There it is. Yes, he was. Alavandar actually saw him. It's a very interesting story. Alavandar actually saw Swami Ramanujan in his Purvashramam at the Kanchipuram temple, and right at that site, he understood and clearly knew that Ramanujan was going to be the next his ascendant as a sannyasi, and also going to be a Darshana Stapaka, just based on his tejas and also his brilliance. So right at that point from Vasumati's narration, we know that Alavandar did Sharanagati to Varadarajan to bring Ramanujan, but when Periya Nambihal actually travels to Kanchipuram from Srirangam, when Swami Alavandar was very ill, it's just a little too late before Ramanujan reaches Srirangam. Alavandar already has ascended to Sri Vaikuntham at that point. So the Sharanagati that Alavandar made at the first time when he saw Ramanujan at Devaperumal Sanadi or Devaperumal Kovil in front of the Kariyamanikya Sanadi, that's the first instance when Alavandar looked at Ramanujan, and I think that's the question there. But very nice, Sriman, very nice for having caught that. 3 questions anymore, Vasumati? You just want to just go impromptu, ask from your material?
No, I didn't have anything planned. That was it, actually.
What is the birth star of Varadaraja? Does anybody know?
Asti Nakshatram Chittire Vadam.
Wonderful. Hasta Nakshatram. That's very nice. But you got it. No doubt about it. You got it. Any other questions you want to ask, Vasumati?
Illa, ma'am.
Okay, there is one more water body near Kanchipuram, which is also associated with the Sthala Purana. When Brahma was performing the Ashwamedha Yajnam, Saraswati took the form of a river and wanted to wash away.
It's the river near Tiruvekka. Vegavati.
What is the name? What is the name?
Vegavati.
There you go. This question was out of syllabus, but you guys still made it. Brilliant. Okay. Very nice, very nice. And also, this only the SAM history students might know. When Ramanujar was debating one of the Advaita acharyas, the debate goes for 18 days, and at the end of the 18 days, both of the debaters are extremely tired. Ramanujar goes back to sleep and meditates on Varadaraja Perumal, and Varadaraja gives him a hint about how to proceed. Can anybody finish that story for me?
He gave a slokam from Olavanda's compositions, and he gave them the meaning and stuff. And then after that, what happened was he came the next day, and the Advaita scholar saw him with his tejas, his confidence, and he knew that he was going to be defeated that day. So he did. He surrendered to Sri Ramanuja.
Yes, actually, to add a little more, you got it, absolutely got it. There was a slight little bit more detail. Alvandar was already very much well versed in Mayavada. Mayavada meaning, if you give him a topic, he can talk for the topic and also against the topic. So he had written down details of treaties about Mayavadam, and Kanchi Varadar had directed Ramanuja to refer Alavandar's works to take more pramanams or more proofs to present against the opponent debater, and that gave him a lot of ammunition to go the next day with a lot of confidence. And the debater, even before coming over to the debate, fell in Ramanuja's feet and accepted his defeat based on his confidence and the level he was carrying with the points that were acquired by Alavandar. But that whole event was orchestrated by Varadaraja in Swami Ramanuja's dream. That's the connection to this topic we have here. So without taking too much time off of Prakriti's questions, let me stop sharing and pull up Prakriti's presentation. Okay. Share. Over to you, Prakriti. Prakriti, you there?
Again, Mama.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So the first question is, how many pasarams of Divya Prabandham are devoted to Varadaraja Perumal?
That's a good one.
At the beginning.
Is it 4 pasarams?
No. We are very close.
Seven.
Correct, 7 pasarams. Okay. Then, what does Ayonija mean, and which alvars fall into that category?
Ayonija means that someone with a divine origin, and Mudal Arvargals fall into that category.
Correct. Good job. That's the right answer. Okay. In which pasaram of Irandam Tiruvandadi does Bhuta Talvar praise Perumal's complexion, saying that he shines like a blue gemstone?
96th.
Close. It's not the right answer.
95.
Yes, 95. In 95, Bhuta Talvar says Mani Vannan. So that means that Perumal shines like a gemstone. Okay. Which temples does Pei Alvar mention in his pasaram, Sirandaven Sindayum?
He mentions Kanchi, Tiruvenkatam, Tiruvelukkai, and Tiruvekka.
Correct. Very good. Okay. Then this is a slightly long question. What are the Kalyana Gunangal of Perumal as told by Nammalvar? And at least 5, if you can tell. Just the Sanskrit name is enough.
Go ahead. You know it.
Param.
Mhm.
Okay.
Antaryami.
No, that
No,
is
you're going into the Param Yuham Vibhavam Arche Antaryami. It's a slightly different route you have to take for this one.
Jnana, Bala, Aishwarya, Virya, Shakti.
That's a very good try. Whoever does it, it's not the exact answer that Prakriti is expecting, but that's a very good try. It comes from the Swami Ramanujar's own words from Gadyatrayam, right? But I think Prakriti's question is slightly different.
the Kalyana Gunangal as told by Nammalvar in his Mangala Shasanam.
Yes. You got them, Prakriti. I was thinking I could never ask a question that these guys can answer. Can't answer, I'm sorry.
Susilam, Shaubhagyam, two.
Sushilam and Sulabham. Yes, those are 2 of them.
Wonderful. So they got 3. I think you need 2
Yes.
more, right?
Yeah, 2 more.
So you don't even have to give the Sanskrit names. The English versions might be okay if we have to just make it a little easy for you.
Okay.
There was one like it that said like aparada, and then I don't know the other word. It
Yes.
meant that Perumal will forgive his bhaktas that make mistakes.
Okay, we can consider that. Okay, 4. One more. Last one. Easy peasy. One more.
He didn't discriminate. I don't remember what that was called.
That is Nirvaishamyam, looking upon everyone equally.
Very nice. Very nice. Very good questions from Prakriti, and guys tried with their whole heart and got all the 5 questions. Very nice.
Okay, good job everyone. There's one more. What did Perumal and Tayar instruct Tirumangai Mannan actually to do in Kanchipuram?
Visit all lead a life of a Vishnu Bhakta and go on a pilgrimage to 106 Divya Desams, and he got the title Tirumangayarvar after.
Correct. That's the right answer.
Very, very nice, Prakriti. Very nice and very nice children. I want to add a few more trivia, maybe questions or stories. Does anybody know what's the most common name that Varadaraja Perumal is referred to in Prabandhas? It's not Varadaraja. What is the most common name that he is referred to as?
Devadirajan.
Devadirajan, and more commonly as Attiyuran. Attiyuran is more common name, but the thing is, the word Varadaraja does not seem to appear frequently at all. Varadaraja was the name given by Brahma, but the Alvars referred to as Devadiraja, Devapiran, and Attiyuran, Pullurvan, and all of those different names. But Varadaraja, that particular name, it's a pretty unique observation that it does not appear so frequently in the Prabandhas. And one more question, talking about Acharyas. There is a very interesting story about Kuratalvan and Kanchipuram. Does anybody know that? That Kuratalvan was a very, very, very rich Acharya in his Purvashramam, very much like our Tevanar Valagam Maheshingar, who was also very rich before Swami took over the Sannyas Ashramam. Kuratalvan was also very, very rich. He was the king of Kuram, or the lord of Kuram. That's why he was called Kuratalvan, and it was very close from Kanchipuram. Can anybody pick it up from here?
One time, Kachinambi overheard a conversation. He was doing Alavattagan Karyam to Peralaran and Perandevi Tayar. And so they were so what happened was Kuratarvan, so he had he was pretty rich, so he was closing the doors, and that made so much noise, and Perumal and Taya knew everything, but they were just acting. So they were like, what? Taya was like to Perumal, what is this noise? I don't think there is anyone left in the Kovel besides us and Tirukachinambi. And so Perumal answered, "Oh, that's his Kuratarwan. He lives in Kuram and he's a rich guy." But he didn't mention that he was actually a Ramanujan. He didn't exactly mention he was a disciple of Ramanujan. And so Tirukachidam is stunned. He's like in awe that Perumal is actually talking about Kuratarwan. And so after he goes to the Kuratarwan later and tells him about it, and that same day Kuratarwan and his wife Andalamme leave to go to Srirangam and to visit Ramanujan.
Very nice. That's the story. And Kuratarwan, everybody knows, is very, very instrumental in Ramanuja, in helping Ramanuja complete Sri Bhashyam, because he memorized the whole script overnight from the king of Kashmir, where they were given the Mula Sutrams. And when the king wanted to take it back, Ramanuja was appalled that he didn't have enough time to complete the whole Bhashyam. Kuratarwan steps in and says, "Never worry, Acharya, I have this by heart." And so Kuratarwan is one of the great Acharyas. And does anybody know Kuratarwan's Tirunakshatra? He was also the same star as Varadaraja. Yes, Hasta Nakshatram, Tai
Hastam.
Tai Hastam, wonderful. And to commemorate his greatness and contribution to our Sampradayam, the Anadhyayana Kalam and Anadhyayana Kalam flips over from his birthday. So that's the Tai Hastam is when that happens. And then very, very nice presentations by Vasumati and spotless presentation by Prakriti, and a lot of fine details brought over by Rangan, and a lot of slokams recitation by Rangan, and it was very nice and refreshing. Thank you everybody for this great evening of great information. Thanks to Vasumati, Prakriti and Rangan again, and we'll chant Acharya Tanin and wrap up this session, and we'll meet again in a few weeks. Okay. Shrirange Shriatinduna Karunaya Asosyaদি Prekshitam Khyatashri Maharaj Munit Padam Mujendindiram Nam Dikshantadayad Vishwagunair Bhandam Buddha Gresaram Srimat Rangashata Yogi Rapatim Shayonadhim Samshraye Srimat Sriranga Pratvishwara Shataripuna Samam Indrana Drishtam Asthatmanam Prasumhe Narhar Yogi Neta Prasadat Pragya Srirangahari Prabhavidipate Lakshmi and Simhasthanam Seve Tindram Sakala Gunadim Viragvechatarim Shiranganath Shadago Vitindra Drishtam Lakshmi Nusumma Shadajit Karuneka Patram Shirangavida Ragurat Shadago Bhagatyam Vedam Tadeshi Yatindram Ham Prabhadhye Shrimatranga Shatari Sam Vivaral Labdhagam Tadvayam Shrimat Veda Rahutpahat Shadajit Pada Vindashrayam Shrimat Vedavadan Tadeshi Yatehe Karunya Vikshaspadam Seve Ranga Dhurina Shasa Vasam Narayanam Yoginam Vedanta Deshi Yatindra Kadakshalabdat Rajinda Saram Anamadhya Gunam Budarbhyam Narayanathya Kripabhishektam Srirangana Yadishekaramastrayamaha Shrimade Shri Lakshmi Smadhiva Padaka Sevaka Shrivan Charagopa Sriranga Sharagovidindra Mahadeshikaya Namaha Shrimade Shrivan Charagopa Shri Virana Vedagovidindra Mahadeshikaya Namaha Shrimade Shrivan Charagopa Shri Vedanta Deshikadindra Mahadeshikaya Namaha Shrimade Shri Lakshmi Smadhiva Padaka Sevaka Shrivan Charagopa Shri Narayanadindra Mahadeshikaya Namaha Shrimade Shri Ranganath Yadindra Mahadeshikaya Namaha. Thank you, children. Keshavaya Namaha. See you in a few weeks. Bye-bye.
Namaha.